Yeah, it's all good.
Yay! Awesome. Hey everyone, we are live. Oh my gosh,
Hello.
thank you all so much for joining. Hey Tara. Hey Angela.
Hello.
Hey Lyra. Woohoo! Yay!
Hey,
Abby's here.
hello,
Thanks.
Abby. Oh,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
congratulations,
Thanks. Yeah,
Jesse. So,
wild. Wild. Hey Jade. Yay! Hey Gregory. Thanks for joining everyone. Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome to this month's Shelf Space Book Club live show. We've got Vish with us. I'm super excited to have you here with us. So if you want
me
to
too.
just quickly introduce yourself and then tell us your top 3 favorite fantasy slash sci-fi novels, and then we'll talk spoiler free and then get into spoilers. I'm so curious.
Okay. Hello, I'm Vish from BooksWithV. I am from Australia. I have a channel, as you guys know, probably. I just mainly read fantasy. I dabble in romance thrillers and like some literary fiction here and there. And right now, I'm in a very bad adult fantasy reading slump. So I'm basically reading adult, like romance and thrillers. So
Nice.
yeah,
Awesome.
and yeah, and my 3 favorite fantasy books. Obviously, Economist and Fury, as everyone knows.
Woo!
um,
Love it.
yeah, Well of Ascension so far because I haven't read Hero of Ages because that can change. So
Oh
Well of
my God.
Ascension and another one. Which one would it be? Oh dear,
It's hard. It's hard to choose.
it's really hard. Oh, Jade War.
Ooh,
Yes,
yes.
Jade
I'm
War.
so hyped to read Jade War after seeing how much you love it. So,
I really did, just because I connected with the characters more in Jade War. So hopefully everyone
yes.
has the same experience.
Yes, you and Shoshana like have me so hyped to read that book. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited.
We love that book so much.
Yes. So I will have Vish's channel linked in the description box down below. So definitely go check out her channel. She's fantastic. So thank you again for joining. We are going to start off with kind of just giving like overall thoughts and what you rated the book. And then everyone in the chat leave your rating and let's see what everyone thought kind of overall. And then we'll dive into spoiler-free thoughts.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. I gave it 4 stars.
Ooh, that's good.
Did you give it 4 stars too, or lower?
So I technically like don't give star ratings
Oh,
anymore.
right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I gave it a solid loved it. Like
Oh,
yeah, I would, if I was to rate it, I would give it like a very, very high 4-star, almost 5-star. Like I loved it.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. So high level, why did you give it that 4-star? Let's see what other people gave it. Nice, Tara.
Okay. One, I definitely think that Foundry Side is definitely way better because obviously I think this is his debut novel, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is kind of his first series. And I didn't think that the character development was done very well compared to Foundry Side. It was still good because we only focused on certain characters for the character development, but then in Foundry Side you got to know everyone. So I think that was my main issue because and obviously the world building was excellent. And
Yes.
one other thing as well, it's just like a minor thing. It was very predictable for me because I guessed a lot of things.
Oh,
So
really?
that was
Oh my
thing.
gosh.
Because of Foundry Side. Yeah.
Uh,
Like I will tell you if I wrote it down, like where I guessed stuff. So
okay.
I did guess it, but obviously in Foundry Side and Shortfall, you couldn't guess anything because it was
Oh,
that good.
no. Yeah. I'm seeing like a lot of people say that either they really enjoyed it. I'm seeing like a lot of 4, 4.5. I'm seeing a lot of like 3, 3.5. So, I mean, overall, like I think most people, it looks like at least enjoyed this to some degree. I don't think I'm seeing anyone be like
Yes.
aggressively hating on it. So that's good.
Oh.
So Okay,
I
I'm
think
glad that
Lyra said that she love it. Lyra seemed
yeah.
to
So
love this one that said that she didn't. Yeah.
we'll definitely dig into because I'm curious since I loved it, so I'm going to come from the perspective of like a fan here. So I'll be curious to see
Yeah.
what you all kind of had the issues with. But yeah, for me, the biggest thing was just how cool the world was. Oh my god, I loved the setup for this one so much with like we've got the ambassador who's not really the ambassador with the military background coming into this new city. And I loved the whole thing with that city was actually like being kind of almost like colonized by this other empire that had in the past been like
And
almost
colonized.
slaves to the previous empire. It was so cool, so unique. So I loved the setup behind this one. And then where it really won me over was some of the like horror kind of elements
Oh, yeah.
brought in. I was like, wait, this is kind of creepy. Like that. Well, there's one scene that's very creepy. So we'll talk about that in like the spoiler chat. But I loved like the tone of this one. I really liked our main cast of characters, like the ones that we concentrated on. I really enjoyed being in their heads. Especially, I think we're going to get a lot more of like Sigrid, I think is how you say his name. And he was fantastic. So yeah, that's kind of like high level for me. So I'll be curious what other people thought of kind of the world building, because I thought that was one of the strongest parts of this book.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That world was so unique. I loved learning more about the gods. That's why I want to continue on with the series, just so I get to learn more about the world and the gods and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, the world is so good.
Oh my gosh, it was so cool. And the magic was kind of, it's really interesting going from reading Foundry Side to reading this series, because Foundry Side, you have a very concrete magic system. Like, you know the rules, you know the limits. I don't feel like we have a total grip yet on like what exactly this magic is. So it's kind of fun discovering, and the whole thing with like the artifacts in the warehouse, like it's so cool.
We'll get into that because obviously it's going to be a spoiler if I talk about it, but I was so sad.
Yeah. So who was your favorite character, would you say? And then who was your least favorite?
It's a tie between Sigrid and Mulligesh, because those two were great. My least, I think I don't want to say the least, because I did like Shara, but not as much, because for me, I felt like we didn't really get deeper into her character, so I didn't really know her that well to love her as much as Sigrid or Mulligesh. So Sigrid and Mulligesh told me that.
Yeah, I saw kind of in the chat, people didn't love Shara as much, and I really liked her. But let's see what folks are saying in the chat. I can predict stuff most of the time, so that doesn't go into my reviews. Man, I'm so bad at predicting things. That's like why I like thrillers, because I'm like, I never guess. The world magic is so unique and cool. Sigrid was my favorite part of the book. It was so cool. Yes, so many horror scenes.
I was very surprised with that, actually. It was done really well, but I was surprised to see some of that in there.
Yeah, and I know I haven't read any of Robert Jackson Bennett's horror books, but I know he writes in horror.
Oh, right. He does.
Yeah. So that was, I was like, okay, he knows how to write like a scary scene. The world was super cool. Sigrid was my favorite character too. Yay, Gregory liked the world building. I think because it was so unique, it took me a while to get my head around, and I felt lost for the first part. Yes, it was like you had to pay attention at the beginning very closely. They really.
But I also, but because I also like that he didn't info dump. He dropped like info throughout the book, so it's like easy to get your head around it. But it's also hard for the beginning because you're lost, because he doesn't give you all the information at that part.
Yes, it felt very like I don't know if you've read a memory called Empire yet?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, that's like space opera, so it's a very different genre than this book, but it almost felt very similar in setup, where you're very much
Okay.
jumped into this world and following an ambassador to this other like empire, and the world is so different than our own, and it reminded me a lot of that. So I can see why people would be very confused at first. I want more Sigrid too. The world building and the gods. Yes, the gods were so cool. Why everyone loved Sigrid until halfway through, and then I completely understood. Yes. Same. He made the book for me.
I think Abby was saying, because I know she read the whole trilogy now, which is great. Yes. I think the last book of the series focuses on him. I think the second book focuses on Mulagesh, which is great.
Yes.
And then the third book focuses on Sigrid. So I'm very excited to get to those two.
Same. Before I had even finished the book, I ordered the rest of the series because I was like, oh my God, so good. So I'm glad, Abby, you read the rest of the series so you can tell us.
I mean, I only finished it recently, so I'm definitely going to do it tomorrow morning.
Yay! That's so exciting. Definitely become one of my favorite fantasy characters. Abby, I agree with you. I loved all three of the main characters. Didn't feel connected to any of them. That's fair.
I can see that.
Yeah. The cool magic with a comfortable mystery plot that don't. Yeah. Yeah. It was like so many. Just the tone of it was so unique, in my opinion, because it was very much a mystery novel in this fantasy world with a lot of the politicking that I love. So I agree.
It has a lot of genre mixed in it, because I know obviously it's fantasy, and then there's the horror, and then there's the thriller mystery element. Maybe a little bit sci-fi with a bit of the ships.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's a cool blend. My copy has a quote. Well, we will love Sigrid, and it wasn't until halfway through, and I saw that quote on the front page.
Yeah, I think I have it on the back. Yeah.
Oh my God, Sigrid, you're going to love him. I was like, okay, we'll find out why. But also didn't connect to them. That's fair. Yeah, the beginning was a little hard for me. I'm curious for those of you who thought the beginning was hard to get into, what was kind of the turning point for you? When did you kind of finally start to connect? When did it kind of finally start to fit together for you?
I feel like for me, the beginning part was a bit slow, but then like with Sigrid and stuff like that, that's when things started to pick up and everything. That's when I like really couldn't put it down.
Yeah, I agree. Like when Shara and Sigrid get introduced, and it's that moment where they describe Sigrid as this huge, giant, very intimidating guy, and you're like, oh, who is this? And then it's like the little girl behind comes in, and you're like, oh, this is the one in power. Okay, like I love that.
Sorry, it just reminded me that when I was reading it for the first time, Sigrid reminded me of a more grumpy Groot. He's like giant and like with his hands and like legs and everything. He just reminds me of a grumpy Groot.
I love that. Yes, Jade, thank you. Okay, I think if I were to do like an if you like this, then you'd also like this video. Even though the two are such different genres, I do feel like if you like this book, you may also really like A Memory Called Empire, and vice versa. If you don't like one, then you may not like the other.
Yeah.
Yay, Patrick loved this book. I remember seeing your reviews, Patrick, on Goodreads.
Me too.
And being excited about reading it. This is exciting. This is exciting. Shara could have been better, even though she was the main character. I felt like I didn't know her well. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about it kind of in the spoiler section, but there was a subplot with her character that I wasn't as crazy about. It had like a little bit of like romance element to it. And I wasn't as crazy about that, but I really
thought that was okay. Yeah. I thought it was okay for that part.
Yeah.
But I do like the flashbacks.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, the beginning was slow, but it was so confusing. I think it needed to be slow, if that makes sense. Yeah. Ooh, okay. Okay, so we'll talk about that when we, yeah. Hi, Charmaine.
Hello.
Hello. When she interviewed the boy and had that bit. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So talking spoiler free still, what did you think of the pacing of this book? And did you like how it ended and kind of, are you going to continue on with the series? Like, it sounds like you are. And when will you continue on with the series?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
So the pacing, like I said, the first half, I think it was very slow moving because obviously it's like a mystery plot at that part. So it's very slow, you're trying to figuring out what happened and all that. So, but I was still very interested because I want to learn more about the gods and stuff like that. So I kept going. And then obviously the last half picked up because that's when the plot started moving a lot faster and we find things out and like action stuff happens, which is great. And the ending, I know I just finished this like a little bit ago, but I felt like it was just a little bit rushed because I think it was like 50 pages, the ending.
Yeah.
A little bit rushed, but everything tied up and made sense at the end. So I think it was good. The ending was good. And I like that. Oh, that's a spoiler. Never mind. It's fine. I don't want to say what the ending was, but I was very satisfied with the ending. Let's just keep it at that.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. I felt like we were getting a lot of buildup towards the gods. And I really like the stuff at the end. I can't say too much of this. So, I feel like I don't think there's anything else like really spoiler free I can say about this book, except that I personally loved it and really liked the characters, really liked the world and the magic. I thought was really cool. I wouldn't call this like a magic. Yeah, I wouldn't call this a magic system because it seems like it doesn't
have
light
magic system. I think so. It's a very light.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe the interview with the boy. Okay. Interesting. I didn't think I was going to continue on, however, after the end. I just really want to know what else happens. Okay. Interesting. I love the pacing super fast.
I didn't mention that I will continue on, and I don't know.
Yeah. I think the end, or not the ending, the beginning, for me, I actually really liked how it started, and I liked being in Mulagish's head at the beginning because I love her as a character. And then I was kind of bummed that we really weren't in her head much at all for the rest of the book. But that's good to hear that she gets like her own book is the second one. But I actually really liked the beginning, but I also think it's because I've read A Memory Called Empire, and I feel like it's very, very heavy on like the politics at the beginning, which some people might not love and some people might really love. So I think I liked the beginning, but I can see why it would be like a slow build up for folks.
Pacing that opening chapter was so good, especially with the courtroom and the courtroom at Mulligat's, and then they were just like, something happened, and then we were like, oh shit, what's going on? Oh so that was a great opening.
Oh. Yes, and just the whole thing where you figure out like, okay, so these people aren't allowed to talk about their past and their religious beliefs at all. Like that's completely censored. It was something so interesting about the world introduced to you right away in this really cool way with the court scene. So it worked for me, but I can see why it would be slow. One of my favorite things about this book was older female protagonists. Yeah, relate more to them. It was nice. No, that's actually really true. That's a good point. I don't
know
read
Jessie would love it.
Yeah, I think she would. I was excited by the build-up to the end. Anticlimactic, but I can't say what else I really wanted from it. Fair. I love all the political machinations. Yeah.
It's so intricate.
Yeah.
It's always like this with other books.
Yes. Interesting, Abby. Okay, you did not like the opening, found it very confusing. I wonder, now that you've read all three, if you reread the opening scene, I wonder if it would hit differently now that you know like exactly where it goes. I just finished it literally just now. Yay!
Same,
awesome.
to be honest.
I
tried.
But apparently I don't like the type of politics. Maybe I only like royal court politics. Fair.
I see
okay.
That. I see that.
Interesting. Yeah, this is
maybe it hit close to home, like kind of politics, because it's not really like royal court politics where it's not really the same as ours as necessarily like that. It's this type of politics might be like really close to home of reality. So I can understand.
Yeah. Yeah. The first chapter was great, and then the 3-4 flashbacks were meh. Yeah, really enjoyed
the flashbacks.
I do. Yeah, but that's fair. So I don't think I can say anything else spoiler free. I think I'm ready. No. So I will go ahead and put a little banner up that says spoiler chat. Just so folks are aware. So if you have not read this book, I think it's pretty clear from how we feel about it that we recommend it. So definitely click off and go read it if you haven't yet. But we're going to talk spoilers now. So what spoiler chat are you dying to start with? Like what are you just like so excited to talk about? I want to start there.
Okay. Like that scene with Sigrid and I think his name's called Ufra. I like the big giant sea monster. That scene with him fighting that sea monster was so epic. It was so great.
I know.
So good.
I know it.
I was literally imagining her doing that.
I know it. And when he's getting all like lathered up and Mulligash just like, need any help?
Yeah. Literally marked that. It was so hilarious. So hilarious.
But yeah, so great. Like that for me was like the winning scene for Sigrid was him going inside the Kraken thing and killing it. I don't know if you've seen The Boys on Amazon Prime. Okay, it reminded me of a scene from The Boys, but I won't say anything else. It's just hilarious. I love that scene so much, and I loved the dynamic between Shara and Sigrid. Like that was such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and I really liked the scene of how they met as well. Yeah. And I actually predicted who Sigrid was. You know how they revealed it at the end, he's the prince? I predicted that like way before. way before. I was like, yeah, he's obviously.
Yeah, he's someone special. Fair. I did not, because I suck at predicting anything. But that's fair. Yeah, I'm catching up on the chat here. Very realistic politics. Yeah, and I think that I really liked that. Really liked how it interwove so many aspects of our reality into the fantasy worlds. Yes, I agree. That scene was my favorite. Yeah.
So I was gonna mention that it's so interesting to see. So the Continentals, I feel like, represent a bit of the Russian culture, because I know it says like the names of the people there, like Slavs, Ilyas, and Yas, and that's kind of sort of like Russian inspired names. And then obviously Saipur is like sort of Southeast Asian kind of representation and culture there, which is really, really interesting, because obviously it's like Mulligesh, Sivani, Shara, that's all kind of like Southeast Asian names and cultures. So you get to see those two cultures in the book, because obviously I don't think historically those two cultures ever interacted. I don't think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's just so interesting to see those two things together.
That is interesting. Yeah, I didn't really make that connection, but now that you say it, that is really interesting. And it's something that's very unique, I think, to this book. I haven't read, like, I've read a ton of fantasy where it takes one inspiration from like one area of the world or from one country in particular and really like dives deep into that. I don't think I've seen where you take like two totally different like cultures and like not even the same continents, like kind of like pit them against it. That was really interesting. The world building for me was my favorite part of this.
But so good. Yeah, especially the gods and stuff like that, because like each god represented something. And it's just so interesting to learn about them. And at the end as well, it was okay. I'll admit it's a bit weird to see two gods merged together. But
yes,
it was very interesting to see that. Yes. And it's also so weird. I mean, I think it explains in the end how that God gave Ephraim like knowledge about what's happening with the gods. Right. I was thinking throughout the book how Shara magically gets information about the gods because she just seems to know everything.
Yes, and then it kind of explains.
So at least now we know why.
Now we know why.
Yeah. There's a few things. Yeah.
The other thing that I noticed that got brought up that I thought was really interesting, just as like from a philosophical discussion standpoint, was how the gods, at one point, you think that the gods are the ones that are in control the whole time, right?
I love that switch. Yeah.
It kind of twists on it, and it says, well, actually, no, we were just doing the bidding of our followers. And that was really interesting how it brought up kind of like this very deep philosophical discussion about like, okay, like do the followers give the gods power, or do the gods have that power and influence the followers? I thought that was really interesting.
Very, very interesting. I like the explanation that Olvas, I think that's her name, that she gives at the end about like, you know, it's like half circle is like the people and then half the circle is like the gods, and both of them give and take equally. It's very, very interesting.
That was interesting.
Plus,
Olvos. I'm seeing kind of, I don't know how to say her name, Olvos.
I think it's Olvos, yeah. I
Olvos.
listened to the audiobook as well, so I heard like the pronunciations of the name as well.
Okay, good, because I don't know how to pronounce anyone. But Olvos at the end, I loved how she was like, yeah, I'm done being a god. And that was really cool how I loved that reveal, how she was kind of orchestrating a lot of this, and like she just left her people on their own, and she was like, they don't really need me anymore, like they're fine, and like I don't want to do this anymore. I thought that was so interesting. I'm hoping to see more of her in the future.
And also the contrast between Olvos as a god and what's his name? Ooh, the one with the K. Oh dear God, what's his name? I literally just finished this.
I finished it a couple of weeks ago for people in the chat, so I'm like, I kind of forget a lot of the names.
Kulkan, that's his name. So the difference between Kulkan and how he interacts with his disciples, and then Olvos with her disciples, and Olvos lets her disciples kind of, well, she doesn't really listen to them. She kind of figures out a good thing for both of them, and then Kulkan just exclusively listens to people, and then made this whole religion and his edicts. I think that's what it calls, like rules about what people should and should not do. Oh my God, and it's also a really interesting. Yeah, it's also a really interesting conversation about how, you don't get punished for doing something unimportant, and because people think their actions are important, therefore making them important and wanting to punish them. It's so interesting that at that part when Olvos talks about it.
So cool. I love that each of the gods had their own land. I also loved how, like, you think that the gods, had abandoned Saipur. Saipur? Is that how you say it? Saipur.
I'm pretty sure.
But then you realize that because the gods never really helped Saipur, Poor.
It's okay.
Saipor. That's why Saipor was able to advance so much more technologically than any of the other countries, because they didn't have the help of the gods, and they didn't have things made easy for them by the gods, and it actually in the long term made them the powerhouse versus the continentals. I thought that was so interesting too, like so many cool discussions.
Yeah, and I really like that contrast of like Saipur being a slave country and then in turn doing the same to the continent as well. So it's a very weird shift, but obviously can see that happening. But it's just a really cool contrast. It's like hate begets hate, or bitterness begets bitterness, as she says at the end.
Yeah, the setup was so cool. I loved it. All right, I'm gonna try to catch up on some of the chat. Let's see. I think I predicted that Shara was a distant relative of a god in the beginning. Oh wow, yes, dang! I'm impressed.
Same.
I'm not. Olvos at the end was super interesting. I wish we got more on her, but I'm sure that will be in later books. Yeah, Abby, you'll have to let us know if we get more Olvos in later books.
Abby, please confirm.
That'd be really good. The aspect of the gods was really cool. Yeah, I totally agree, Angela. That like one of my favorite things was just the themes surrounding the gods and what that brought up. The gods felt less connected until Olvos walked us through it. Yes. Yep. I pictured Olvos like the ancient one.
Yes. Oh my God. I was literally thinking she reminds me of someone. And then, yep, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Hit the nail on the head. I love it. The give and take between gods and their followers makes the fact that the people are not allowed to talk or read about their religion even more interesting, like their power is being taken away. So interesting. Kolkhan was terrifying. His edicts, I was like, oh my God, it keeps getting worse. So scary. Yay! Gave it 5 stars. That's awesome, Monica.
That's so good.
I'm happy about that. Different parent types holding their child's hand versus letting them learn on their own. Yeah, it's so interesting. All of us. Okay.
Oh,
got some stuff to look forward to. Yay.
That's good. I think she's probably my favorite god, to be honest. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, she's definitely my favorite.
After the ending, it's just so interesting. So I love all that. And that's like why like this book was almost just like a perfect 5-star for me. I just love like all that stuff with the gods. It's so cool. What about like the stuff with like the warehouse and how the magic was used to create these artifacts? Like, what did you think of like all that?
It's really cool because, okay, so when they found the underground like seats of the gods, and then they caved it in, I was very sad. I was like, but I want to learn more. I don't want it to go away. And then the whole warehouse burned down. I was like, I wanted to learn more. And I think it was the ear of something where they can travel between those two. It reminds me of the vanishing cabinet from Harry Potter.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. Yes.
And it's just so cool. I just wanted to learn more because they had like a preview of the list of everything that was in the warehouse.
Yes.
And it was so cool learning about each and every item. I just want to know more. Obviously, it's gone now, which is so sad.
I know. So I was trying to, because I loved how Robert Jackson Bennett introduced just the warehouse and the artifacts in the warehouse, and how you know that one of these objects in this list is the key one, and you're like trying to figure it out as the reader with Shara, like, which one is it? Did you guess which artifact?
I didn't predict the carpet thing, but I did predict the ships because they were saying how they wanted medals, and they were alluding to I think having ships back in the day with the divinity and stuff. So I was like, okay, they're gonna have ships. That's obviously what the medal's for.
Yeah.
But I did not predict that it was going to be a flying ship.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Obviously, I didn't guess it because I suck. So, but I thought that was so cool. I loved how he did that, and how it's like it really felt like, I think why I liked Shara so much was because I was like rooting for her to figure out the mystery, because I, as the reader, wanted to figure out the mystery. So I love when a character can connect with you because you have the same motives as that character. Like they're the one who's taking you through this story and you're learning with them.
Yeah.
I love.
And she has a hint of Sherlock Holmes as well, which is very good because she has like a detective skills and stuff like that. So it reminded me of Sherlock Holmes a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked her. I wanted more about the warehouse. Finally, we are in it, and then it burns down. Yeah, such a bummer.
I was so disappointed.
I do wonder if we're going to get more, Abby, cough, cough, Abby, tell us, more about the warehouse or the objects in it, or just the background of that. Because it was super interesting. This book can work as a standalone. The next focus is on other characters. I like that. No need to continue since I was satisfied with the ending. Sweet. Yeah, it can. I definitely think this can work as a standalone.
Yeah, because I was gonna say the ending was very like cut clear. Like, okay, this is the end, and it feels like a good tie to the end where you're like, oh, you don't really need to continue to the next book. Like the same. Oh, I'm not going to spoil that. Never mind. It's like a different book as well. Like the ending is like perfect, and you don't really need to go to the next book.
Yes,
but obviously you do.
Yes, it reminds me.
Same with this.
Yeah, like Final Empire is the same way. Where
that's what I was saying. That one.
Yeah. If you just wanted to read the first book in the trilogy, you can.
Mm-hmm.
So sad. I was like, no, I want to know more about the artifacts. Yeah. I'm thinking, well, maybe we'll get more artifacts in future.
Maybe there are more warehouses, and that was just one of the warehouses.
Yes, maybe. I like this one more than Foundry Side. Oh, awesome! Because of all the
wow
nations.
Yeah, I can see that because it's more there's more politics in this one compared to Foundry Side. That one's more, I feel, more magic-y, and like I guess it also goes with gods and stuff like that, but not as much as this book, because those two books have totally different tones, but also very similar in some aspects, like the darkness of the tone, very similar, but everything else is like so different. Dialogue and character relationships as well, so different.
Yes, like I was talking to Elle about this book, and she didn't like Foundry Side very much because she didn't like.
I think she would love this.
I think she would like it, and I think that's something that I definitely would bring up when talking about this book. Is if you didn't like Foundry Side, that doesn't necessarily mean you won't like City of Stairs, because it felt so different tonally. With just it felt almost like more mature in a way, because the characters are older. It's more about, like Monica said, the espionage and the political machinations and some of the themes. So I feel like there wasn't as much like humor thrown in. I like Foundry Side for a lot of the humor. But I can so I can see folks liking this but not liking Foundry Side and vice versa.
Also, I just remembered that I found a little Easter egg in one of the artifacts about a key, if you remember, that opens doors and then to other universes. Where is it?
Wait, stop! I didn't even notice! How did I not notice?
Oh, there it is. Hold on, where is it? It's a small iron key, name is unknown, but when used on any door, the door sometimes opens onto an unidentified tropical forest. It just reminds me of Flesh.
Oh,
it opens any door.
I'm sure he's not going to try to like connect the two. He's not going to make his own like Cosmere, Robert Jackson Bennett style. But that is a fun little like Easter egg if you've read both. Even though I didn't love the song. Yeah, like Jade, I think that there's a high chance that you will like Foundry Side, even if you didn't like City of Stairs. They're very different in a lot of ways.
Very different.
Liked more of the dialogue.
Especially dialogues.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially the dialogues are so different between those two. I was very surprised. But like you
Yeah.
said, it's just because the characters are different ages as well. So that makes the dialogue more different.
Yeah. For people who haven't read Foundry Side yet, the main character in Foundry Side is a teenage girl. And so she like grows throughout the series, but you definitely start with her being younger. And because of that, she just has more immature, I guess, dialogue or like tone or humor. But I still love Foundry Side. I love it.
Yeah. I think Marvel will always be my favorite, to be honest.
Yeah. I love these for totally different reasons. I think I love the characters much more in Foundry Side, but I like the world a lot more in this one. Yeah. So
definitely agree with those points.
Yes, Monica. It's almost like Foundry Side is one that I would recommend for like young adult readers who want to get more into adult fantasy. But I don't think I would say the same about City of Stairs. I think this one reads much more adult. So, yeah, it's just what you prefer.
But the world building is the same. The world building is like the same age-wise. Like it's more definitely adult than YA. But like the characters and the dialogue definitely is different.
Yes, I agree. So I want to talk about that one scene. So scary with the little girl in the middle of like the salt circle. Oh my god! I forget what horror movie. What horror movie is it from when the little girl has like the veil over her face and she's playing with the puppets? Someone in the chat might know, but that's what it reminded me of.
I don't know that one.
One horror movie where this little girl is like laughing and then you like reveal her face and she's like this old decrepit like witch creepy thing. It reminded me of that, but it was so scary and I loved it.
Yeah, it was creeping me out a little bit, definitely. And I was listening to the audiobook, so the voices that she made was also very creepy.
Really? Oh, that would be a really fun part of the audiobook to listen to. And then the description of the actual creature with like the bill.
Like, what is this creature?
It's so gross. It's so gross.
What is this creature? Half goose, half man? What is
I know, so gross. But I loved it.
It was very good. Creeps me out.
Yeah, that's where this book went like from like a 4-star to like a okay, this could be like a new favorite. I don't know what that says about me, but I love creepy stuff like that. And I've heard Abby said that the horror aspects are even more present in the second book, which I'm like,
that is
yes, give me the horror books. Yeah, that was so disgusting. It's so creepy. That was definitely the scariest part of the book. I wonder if people who read Tom Clancy books would like this if they don't read much fantasy. I'm curious. I haven't read any Tom Clancy books.
Me neither. Yes, me too.
Flashbacks. Ooh.
Same. I was like, ooh, Salt Circle. I see. Yeah. I see you.
Yes. In both books, the world building is original and complex. I just like this one more. Yeah, side characters are great. I totally agree.
Well, Lagash is just so sassy. I love it.
I love Lagash. She's so fantastic.
I love her.
Oh my goodness, Abby, you're just making me so excited.
Okay, I'm ordering this book after this live show.
Monica, you have such a high tolerance for the creeps.
I know.
I was like, ugh.
I mean, half goose, half man. I mean, come on. Even the bill was like, it was like, yeah. And it was like made out of like knuckles of men, and it would form the bill. Like, what? How do you even see that in your head?
So gross.
I see. I saw this when I was like a child, so I barely remember it, but I know this movie.
Yes, it is The Others. You're totally right. That's a fantastic movie if you haven't seen it. It's so good.
I've seen it.
It's so good. Watch that one. For all who listen to the audio, how do you pronounce Vohannes? is how I don't know.
No, that's how you pronounce it. It's Vahanas, yeah.
Yes, I actually
Good
got
job. Vahanas.
Now I want to start reading book 2 straight away. Sorry to ruin your TBR, but not really sorry.
That's what we're here to do.
we ruin TBRs in this book club.
Yes.
So awesome.
Yeah, very anticlimactic ending for him, really. But I can definitely see his arc was very incomplete. Like, I would like to see him like a little bit happy before, he died, but very tragic ending for that.
Yeah, it was a little anticlimactic. I will agree with that. That was such a bummer. Through my January plans, and I'm very happy about it. Yay, Abby. Oh my gosh. I need to take a note from Abby's book and binge more series for sure.
I just also want to mention that the audiobook that I was listening to, and I was also physically reading, is that the audiobook misses some maybe sentences or even a whole paragraph of things between the books. So the audiobook doesn't mention some paragraphs or sentences that are in the book. But it's not really too relevant to the character, but it's just like kind of extra details that you actually read about. But the audiobook does miss some sentences or even a whole paragraph sometimes, which is definitely something to note. Yeah, something to note.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so maybe don't like exclusively do audio if that's the case. Oh my gosh. I've read all 3 books and I guarantee the story is excellent all the way through.
That's
Yay!
Awesome.
That makes me so happy. So I am curious for folks in the chat, for those of you who rated it like 3, 3.5, what did you kind of want more of? What were some of your issues? Because I feel like we're very biased. We've been like, it's great.
It's great. I mean, I mentioned that the character building was not as good as what I found in Foundry Sun and Shorefall. I think that's my only criticism, to be honest, and also the predictability a little bit, because I predicted that Vohanas had something to do with the whole thing, and also Vinya, her aunt, orchestrated the murder. I figured that out as well.
Okay. So you just kind of predictable, yeah. Fair.
Yeah, I just found it a little bit predictable. And oh my god, the Kaj at the end where we find out that he tortured his own mom. That's tragic.
Oh my god, so bad.
So tragic.
It was so sad.
I read it. I was like, oh no.
Oh my god,
so tragic. And then he finds out, and then he gets into his whole depression, which is obviously reasonable, and then he dies. That's so tragic. But I kind of predicted that he would be a descendant from one of the gods, but I didn't think he was like a second generation descendant. And I did not predict that he tortured his mom. Did not whatsoever. So that's
obviously I didn't predict it. So Vahanas did not deserve to die. He was trying to make amends. That almost lowered my rating. Yeah, it's like Robert Jackson Bennett is not afraid to kill off some characters.
He doesn't pull his punches. Yeah, he doesn't pull his punches.
Yeah. I just didn't connect to anyone and felt very meh about the entire book. Nothing really stood out. And that's totally fair. I've had books where I'm like, I can't pinpoint exactly why. I just didn't connect. And that is super fair.
I think also with his books, it's very plot focused, to be honest. Like both of his series is very plot focused and characters are secondary, but he does you do bond with his characters more in his other series compared to this, at least for me. But yeah, it's very plot focused.
It is. Yeah, I think if you're like a very much character driven reader, then this might just not ever be a favorite, because like for me, my favorite part of this book was world building. It was not necessarily because of the characters that I loved this book. I did really like the characters, but like they aren't going to make my like top favorite fantasy characters ever. They might by the end of the series. I don't know. But yeah. I mean, so for me, like if you love just like unique worlds and the mystery elements and the political machinations, this might be a favorite. But if you just don't care about that stuff, then like I can see why people wouldn't connect to it. Yeah, no, that's super fair.
Yeah,
I can definitely see why people would be confused. Told City of Stars does not drag on, while Foundry Side was too long. Interesting. Fair. And again, I think, yeah, it's like, do you like the more adult tone? Yeah. Thanks for joining, Angela. Bye. I was never bored with the plot. I'm so glad that you liked it so much, Monica. That's awesome.
Yeah,
character building
that's good.
thing was the start. And I think it was a little too political for me. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Oh, I love Sancha. Oh my God.
Yeah. Sancha and the whole crew.
The whole
so
crew.
Good. And yes, Foundry Side and Shortfall had that found family trope, whereas in this, not really.
Yeah.
A found family trope is just more of a camaraderie between Milligan. Oh God. What was her name? Oh my God. It totally just blanked. Sorry, it's like 1 a.m. Shara? Yeah, Shara and Sigrid. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. So between those three, I love their relationship together, but it's not really a found family trope that you see in Shortfall. That was very interesting as well.
Yes. Like found family trope. If that is like one of your favorite things ever, I would highly recommend Foundry Side. Would not recommend this one. I moved it from a 3 to a 3.5, and I still kind of wonder if I should have given it the 4. Maybe so.
I'm definitely gonna increase my call file rating a little. I gave it a 7.6 out of 10, so it's definitely going to be in the high 7s after this. But it's still going to be a 4, but it's going to be a high 4.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. As we were talking about, I think I'm realizing how much I enjoyed it, but I was missing the character connection. Yeah. I didn't love Shara, but I would love a prequel novel about Shara and Sigrid's past adventures. Ooh, that would be so fun. There's a conversation between them towards the end about Monster Save Face that had me lolling. Yes. I never connected with any of the characters until Sigrid about 300-ish pages in. Hi, Leslie. I can see Sigrid being the fan favorite here. It's definitely all about the mystery.
As it says behind the book, says you will love Sigrid. So
yes, definitely agree with you, Jessie. I'm a character-driven reader, and even though I found the plot fun, the characters didn't stand out for me. Yeah. Yay, I love found family. Oh, I think you're gonna really like Foundry Side, Jade. I really do.
Me too. Especially Shortfall.
Yes. Yeah. Big difference, I think, because of personal preferences. Yeah, it's so interesting. I like Robert Jackson Bennett is now going to be like an auto by author for me, and I'll never know what to expect from his different series because, like with Sarah J. Maas, you know what you're going to get, and you know if you love Sarah J. Maas, you're going to love her next book. You know what I mean? Like you know what you're getting. With Robert Jackson Bennett, I don't necessarily know what I'm going to get because his 2 series are so different.
I'm very curious to read his horror books because I want to check that out and see how that is because I think it's going to be good. I mean, that scene with the goose man person is going to be good. So I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yes. Awesome. I'm so glad that this was our pick. I'm really happy because I think it would have taken a while for me to pick this up otherwise. Just because there's so many books out there and this one is not, I haven't seen really many people talk about it.
Except I know Bruce Project.
Yeah.
Except Bruce Project. Also, I like the cover difference.
Right? I know. I got the UK one.
I got the US one. Totally different.
Yes, Leslie, he has horror books. That is why he had the horror element. Well, I don't know if that's why he had the horror elements in this book, but it's why they were so freaking creepy. That's for sure. Been holding out on me. Yeah, he has written a lot. If you look him up on Goodreads, he's written so much.
I know he just recently published a book last year because I think we were freaking out about it, but we couldn't get it because it was only an audiobook, I think.
Yeah, and I think that was horror.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, this been on my TBR for a long time, and I'm glad I finally got it. Yay! Yeah, that's fair. I know. I like just read Ruin of Kings, which has been on my TBR forever.
Right.
I'm like, well, good. I now I know I don't need to continue on with this series.
I haven't watched the live show because I haven't read the book yet, but I know both of you didn't like it, which is
I really didn't like it. So I'm glad I had this book because I was like, if I have to do 2 live shows like ranting about a book, I'm gonna be so sad.
I'm so glad we actually like really like it, because the last few books was a bit of like a hit or miss for us as well.
Yes, I agree.
So
yes.
This is good. Because I only picked this because I just finished Shorefall at that time. So I was like, more Robert Jackson Bennett.
Yes, I'm so glad that we picked this up. Has anyone read American Elsewhere by Robert Jackson? No, I haven't. Is that a good one? Have you read it? Is it good?
I think that's the newest book that he just published. It sounds familiar. Might be wrong. Yeah, I might be wrong.
No, we did not, Jade. Felt very passionately about it. No, we did not.
Good thing I returned my library book.
Yeah, it was
good thing I returned my library book for that, because no.
It wasn't it. But a lot of people love it, so maybe we're just missing it.
Yeah, obviously.
I would never have read this had you not. Yay! Yay!
I'm so glad. Yay.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Is there anything else that you were like dying to discuss?
No, that was pretty much it, to be honest. Like, obviously the world building of the gods again, and like the talk of like the religion and philosophical discussions about it. It was very, very interesting. It's always like that with all of his books, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of philosophical discussions about just life in general and religion. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. I knew that he was still alive. I didn't think he was the mastermind behind it, but I did know he was alive.
Okay. Yeah, I did it. I obviously I like that you just asked Vish, because we can just assume I did not. Well, awesome. I am so glad that so many of you enjoyed it. And even if you didn't love it, thank you so much for joining us anyway. I'm personally super glad that this was our pick. And thank you so much for joining us today, Vish. This was super fun.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. Go get the rest of the series. Woohoo!
I'm going to do it as well. I'm definitely going to do it as well.
Yes. So, let's see. I just finished the first series. I'm a little broke right now, but I want to ask you guys how you feel about it.
I haven't read it. But I'm going to one day.
Oh yeah, I haven't read Robin Hobb yet. But I have heard amazing things. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining. Thank you all so much for reading this book with us this month. As a reminder, next month we are reading Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which I've heard so much about. So I'm really excited for that one.
I'm pretty sure, I think AU, we can't read it because there's only the hardcovers available, and there's no Kindle option either. So there's no like paperback option, and there's no Kindle option, and the hardback for me is like $40.
Oh my gosh!
I know. Abby and Sam were talking about it as well, because they can't purchase the Kindle version or like the hardcover. So
well, that's a super big bummer.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Publisher. What the heck? That sucks.
We'll figure it out.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Obviously.
If you can figure it out and join us, that'd be awesome. If not, I totally understand. Oh, yay! Black Sun is on its way. Woohoo! Yeah. So if you want to join us for Black Sun next month, book. But again, thank you so much, Vish. City of Stairs.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so good.
It was super.
Yay!
It was super fun, and thank you for staying up so late. I know it's super late for you.
Fine. It's fine.
So sleep well. Good night. And have a great rest of your day, everybody.
And good morning to you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.